Right. So with this video, you can see that I got some special snacks from Lidl supermarket today. There was one more. It was green, and it was the Chinese. I can't remember what the flavour was. Hot pot or something. Chinese hot pot. So there's Korean, Japanese, and Chinese. This makes me especially happy. It's made me feel very calm today because I remembered that I was interested in Korea, China, and Japan, the whole three, and I really like the Calbee brand of crisps as well. So I thought that was great. There was also a Mario toy near them as well, so that was interesting. Um, so you can have a negative day sometimes, or you can have certain negative thoughts, but overall the objective is to guide ourselves towards a peaceful resolution. I have been interested in Shintoism and Christianity recently. No spiritual path is ever set in stone, but sometimes the requirements, the criteria for changing religions can be very strict at times because you've got to communicate a certain methodology to people within a time frame, within a set time period. So you can't just jump from one to another. So I could say, well, this is a sign that I should convert to Buddhism properly. And in fact, I was interested in Buddhism before, that is Pure Land Buddhism. And I'm still interested in that. I still think I'd put a preferential treatment towards it. But obviously my priority is to do the Shinto Christian thing at the moment, so which I think is interesting. Now, the Pure Land Shintoism probably would go well with the Christianity if I put it together. If you want to be exact about it, then I could make a bold statement and say that Pure Land Shintoism and Christianity could be large-scale systems that would work in Korea, China, and Japan, although that's a bit of a stretch of the imagination. Buddhism is obviously the central thing that does work throughout those three countries. So I could adopt Buddhist principles. In fact, adopting certain principles isn't wrong. Having certain cornerstones such as Shintoism, the faith is different to the principles of the faith. So for example, I suppose it's a bit like if you imagine Christianity having certain principles and practices, like people prayed for Anne Wincombe, I think that's her name, Anne Wincombe, and so people realised that she had certain principles and she acted according to faith. So the principles and the faith can go together, but where the principles and the faith separate, that's where it's more interesting. In other words, you can really make the principles count in systems where it just works with the power of the principles, kind of like a power law, would you call it, or a scaling law, or whatever, a function. You multiply the function by its components, you get a principled reaction and consequence in the system. So that could be Buddhism in terms of using that as the the principled thing, and then the actual faith is the Shinto and Christian thing, which is the I don't know what the actual overall word for faith is. If you extend the word, it wouldn't be faithical, obviously. It would be what would it be? Let me think about this. Faith centrism. I don't know. Communionship, communal. And there are different words, but I suppose you could say that faith is more communal, whereas the principles of a spiritual system are more based on the functions. So Buddhism is an extremely functional thing, whereas Shintoism and Christianity are the faiths which also have functions but can be acted as faiths on their own. I think isn't there something called faith alone? I'm not sure what it means. Faith alone doctrine. I think that's a doctrine from another spiritual system. But if I read between the lines, I would say that there is just one way of enacting a faith at certain times. For example, just as much as a kid can believe in Father Christmas, a person can believe in the principles behind a person, deity or object or idol. So you can be as convinced about an idol as you can about a non-idol that you learn to grow out of. So the concept of idolatry actually exists within faith, whereas the principles extend well beyond the idol system. So idolatry is obviously frowned upon in a lot of practices. I won't go into which, out of respect, but so the principle is to not follow the idol. The faith is to get rid of the idol in certain spiritual practices. Whereas in other spiritual practices, the faith, you've got to combine your efforts to support the idol and what the idol represents. Now, you could call the idol a form of communion, a communal idol, communal worship. The word worship may extend to idolatry, even if in static, forms like a statue or a symbol or an emblem or something. Anyway, what I'm getting at with this is that I would like to adopt Buddhism, but I would like to adopt it as a principle. And I think as a faith, I would like to be more idealistic. Maybe I do seek some kind of reduction from being idolized in my own mind to something that's more based on principles, but which still carries out the faith. So you can reduce the principle attached to an idol from the idol to the actual principle itself. So if that makes any sense, then that's a reasonable, clear explanation. So I think Buddhism can be used to reduce the status of an idol into the principle that makes it work and function, the function of the idol which reduces it. Such as over thousands of years, the Jesus Christ figure basically becomes more functional because society's ills and methods that pertain to those ills and worries and sickness can get out of hand, especially with advancements in technology and different principles that work on different levels. So as we see, the three bags represent the union of a system, but it's not a unified system unless the principles work throughout the system as a generalized function, and then reducing certain idealistic practices while also potentially diversifying them for good measure and to prevent sickness and illness, because you can't detach idols from systems without inducing some kind of sickness, I would guess, because cultures vary and the mental health needs of cultures also vary. There is a book called Mental Health in China, I believe, yes, I haven't read the book fully, but it's very interesting from what I've seen. There are also various books about the past of mental health in China relating to the agricultural period and those transitions. So you might not want to look at in terms of purely of idols, but you might also want to look at it in terms of principles. So how do the principles and characteristics of production change over time as new systems are introduced? And so we can see this as an opportunity to introduce a new system based on goodwill and good faith. But to detach someone from their particular idol at a certain given point too rapidly can be harmful. And so it might take me a year even to address the situation and to readdress what my spiritual path is. But for now, I'm quite happy with the Shinto and Christian path that I'm on. So this is a call for me to wake up and see the world in a more principled way and to be calm in the mind, less thought-provoked in my own mind, and more sensible and happy. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope this has been a peaceful and reasonable explanation of my goals today and my gratitude for receiving this blessing. Well, I don't know whether this blessing was, to be received by me or some other personal thing. Nonetheless, I think it still indicates a general trend that people need to take slow transitions away from the things they're attached to, and that this will be the gradual course of the next couple of years, away from disasters such as Charlie Kirkism and intellectual debates and intellectual ferocity and precociousness and all sorts of other factors.